It is now my great pleasure to introduce distinguished delegation from the United Kingdom. The delegation is led by Mr. Bob Blackman, Member of the Parliament, and Right Honourable David Jones, former Secretary of State from Wales. Please join me in welcoming them to stage.
Madam Javi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, it's a great honour for all of us to be with you today and address this year's Free Iran rally. And indeed, here we are on behalf of the British delegation. And as we gather in the home of the Iranian Revolution, the resistance, the British delegation send our deepest regards and stand in solidarity with the people of Iran. The courageous resistance units, political prisoners, detained protesters, and the heroes and heroines of Ashraf 3 deserve our admiration. For decades, your determination and sacrifice have kept alive the hope of a free, secular, democratic, and non-nuclear Iran. Today, the hope is that that is becoming nearer and nearer the end goal. We've seen, once again, the determination of the Iranian people to overthrow the clerical dictatorship, which has responded since the nationwide uprising of 2026 with brutal repression, shutting down the internet, deploying the Revolutionary Guards on the streets with heavy weapons, killing thousands of protesters, arresting tens of thousands, and subjecting so many to torture and abuse. Yet the regime has failed, and will continue to fail, to stop the Iranian people's struggle for freedom. The ruling religious dictatorship has reached a historic dead end. Unable to resolve Iran's deep political, economic, and social crises, it relies on executions, repression, terrorism, regional warmongering, hostage-taking, threats to international shipping, and the pursuit of nuclear weapons in a desperate attempt to prevent the next uprising and to force the world into continued appeasement. Now, following the 2022 uprising, a major propaganda campaign sought to promote the return of the Shah's dictatorship through his son, Reza Pahlavi. Democracy in Iran will not be delivered by those who seek to inherit power as a family entitlement or depend on foreign powers to restore yet another dictatorship. Reza Pahlavi has never condemned his father's dictatorship. Instead, he's repeatedly praised the Shah's era with his notorious SAVAK agents. He also publicly claimed support from more than 50,000 members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC, the very institution that is responsible for suppressing protesters and killing dissidents. Now, history teaches us that genuine democratic change can only come through an organised resistance with popular support, a democratic vision, and a willingness to make sacrifices for freedom. For more than 4 decades, the PMOI MEK and its resistance units have demonstrated precisely such commitment under the harshest repression and with absolute brilliant bravery. Now, faced with this reality, the regime and its lobbyists continue to claim that no other organised democratic alternative exists and that regime change would lead to chaos, civil war, or even the breakup of Iran. Their objective is to discourage the Iranian people and to justify continued appeasement. But the facts prove otherwise. In February 2026, the NCRI, a democratic coalition with a 45-year history, announced the establishment of a provisional government under Madam Rajavi's 10-point plan, and indeed their mission to transfer sovereignty to the Iranian people through free elections and establish a democratic republic. As chairman of the British Committee for Iran Freedom, my cross-party colleagues and I from both houses of Parliament are proud to support this provisional government and the Iranian people's right to determine their own future. I would like to announce so far more than 3,000 parliamentarians across the world, former heads of states and distinguished personalities from no less than 55 countries across 5 continents have endorsed a joint declaration supporting the Iranian people's struggle for freedom and in welcoming the NCRI's provisional government. Leaders of the world community must support President-elect Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan and the NCRI's provisional government to end the Iranian people's suffering and guaranteeing a lasting peace, stability and security. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it has been long the goal of the UK, both across party, that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps should be classified as a terrorist entity and their assets sequestrated. I'm pleased to say that this week, finally, the UK government put through legislation which allows us now to designate the IRGC as a terrorist organisation. This brings forward the day when there will be an orderly transition from the theocratic regime that exists in Tehran to the democratic regime led by Madam Rajavi. The Iranian people's resistance and their struggle for a democratic republic will prevail sooner rather than later. And let's all resolve that next year when we meet, it'll be in a free and democratic Tehran with a government led by Madam Rajavi.